Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Ian Buckland. I'm the Learning and Development Manager for Talent International. So I'd like to welcome you all and thank you for joining our virtual onboarding webinar. So the aim of our brief session today is to explore the process of virtual onboarding and hear from an organisation who is already using it effectively, and also have a look at the challenges of digital onboarding and how you can overcome them. So we're delighted to be joined by Darren Windsor from JTI, who's going to share his experiences of virtual onboarding, and also Mariana Braddock from Factorial HR, who will talk through some of the challenges connected with virtual onboarding and how you can overcome those. So after each session, we'll have an opportunity for questions and answers. So we'd just like to ask everybody if you can pop any questions that you've got into the chat stream, and as we move through the live discussions, and then what we'll do is you'll put those questions to our speakers at the end. And if for any reason we don't get any time to cover off all those questions live, we'll follow up on email afterwards. So to kick off, I'd just like to share a couple of slides with you just to introduce the topic. So Matt, have I got access to those now?
1 second, let me just share.
Wonderful, thank you. Great. Okay, so first up, oh, where are we going? Let's go back one slide. Here we go. First technical hitch. At least I got that one, Darren and Mariana, and not you guys. So just really, we're seeing that organisations are looking to push back start dates, or some organisations have pushed back start dates, where others are actually taking advantage of the technology out there so that they don't risk missing out on those top talent. And I think it's important to recognise that it does create a risk if you are moving start dates back. And actually, most of that has been done with a concern over how you can virtually onboard somebody effectively and feeling like they'll come in and be as productive as they would be ordinarily. And I think that's where it's important to consider. Now I can't get control, Matt.
Wait a second. You are controlling it.
Am I?
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to want to let me. Are you able to control it for me, Matt?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I can do it. Yeah.
Knowledge, everyone. Yeah, if we can stay on this slide then for a second, Matt. So I think it's important to remember these 3 points. So yes, virtual onboarding does have its pros and cons, but I think it shouldn't. There's no reason why it should hinder the candidate experience. There's lots of ways in which you can achieve that, and companies really simply need to get a well thought out process together. If you actually look back, at studies that are done sort of pre-COVID, from Gallup and so on, they'll tell you that 88% of organisations were considered to not onboard well. So it's something that's historically been done quite poorly in the eyes of our employees. And actually around 1 in 10 organisations hadn't reviewed their onboarding process for a couple of years. So I think what that says to me is this is actually a great time to do it. We've got a changing landscape, which means we need to rethink how we go about our onboarding in this period and probably for some time to come. But also that creates an opportunity for you. And I think that's my big message today is there's a great opportunity here. So let's have a look at, if we can move on to the next slide, Matt, let's just look at how many organisations are starting to implement virtual onboarding. So this is based on our own study of hiring managers that we carried out. And you'll see on here that you're getting upwards of 50% now have actually already made some use of virtual onboarding. And you can see the vast majority of the rest are considering it. And I think that's a really key thing to look at, that if it's something that at the moment you've not engaged with or you're embracing, then it's a chance that you're falling a little bit behind the curve here. And if we look forwards, I think remote working is likely to become more of an expectation than necessarily a benefit, which is probably how it's been viewed in the past. How many of us probably said a few weeks back that I don't know how remote working is going to work for us. Yet now we're a few weeks down the line and it's working. And indeed for many, they're thriving, having adapted and fully adapted to that way of being. And I think that's where this dawn of a new age that that came a few weeks ago, now is the time that we've really got to start adapting to this. So starting to see how we can embrace virtual onboarding. So if we can look at the next slide to look at some more stats around onboarding. And I think these are important facts for everyone to be aware of. So if we pick up this first fact, and this comes, this is historical, this isn't just in the last few weeks, but the impact on employee retention and productivity, those improvements are huge. So the value of doing onboarding really well is it can't be argued with. So again, this is where this great opportunity is. So, and then you look at that next point, and you've got 58% of organizations acknowledging that they're very focused on process and paperwork. Well, that to me says there's no shock when 12% of people say that their onboarding isn't great. To say that, it shouldn't be seen as a purely administrative task. And in fact, a third of people say that it's very informal, it's inconsistent, it's kind of reactive. That's how the process feels. Yet the best onboarding programs are structured and strategic rather than administrative, and they focus on people. And that focus on people, when I say that, probably when you talk remotely, can feel like a real challenge. I'm sure it's one of the things we're going to talk about today. Yet with all the collaborative technology and the video conferencing technology available and possible, yeah, sure, you might have to put a bit more effort in to get that process to feel human. But actually, I'd say that's a good thing, because we're already saying that perhaps it's not human enough and never has been. So actually, here's another opportunity to maybe take that onboarding process up a level for you, up a notch. And that kind of ties in with the last point on here, where we're talking about how high performance onboarding programs, although still only a third of them, are starting to build in that social networking side, that social media side. So it's never played a huge part, but I think increasingly it's got to become important, certainly in a virtual situation. And if you think about now, more and more the people we're hiring are millennials or Generation Z, where they've grown up with social networking, they've grown up in that world. And I think the key to that is that it doesn't necessarily have to drive fear in terms of thinking, oh my God, we haven't got the infrastructure or the setup to deliver that kind of social network. There's lots of platforms out there that you can engage and create private opportunities to network and so on. So there's lots of ways you can build it in. But I think as we move forward, these kind of things are going to be important to harness and so on. So I thought I'd just share those kind of facts with you. And I think what I'm looking to get across there is really that one is the importance of effective onboarding, the value that it can add, and actually the impact of this in a new age, new world, if you like, is that it provides us with a great opportunity to adapt so as we thrive virtually, but also elevate the process that you've been doing, because we've seen even that top stat on this page says it all really, doesn't it, in terms of what onboarding can do for you. So I'm looking forward to hearing more from our speakers. So I will quieten down now, and I'd like to introduce our first speaker. So I'd like to introduce Darren Windsor, who's the Learning Development Manager at JTI. So first up, Darren, how are you? How's lockdown treating you?
I'm very well, thank you, Ian. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, it's treating me okay. Same struggles as everyone else, probably. I've got a young child I'm trying to homeschool as well at the same time as doing my home job. So, yeah, challenges come thick and fast every day, but I'm still here and I'm still in one piece, so that's the main thing.
Oh, I know the feeling on the homeschooling. I've done very well to mute my two children for the next, hopefully, for the full 45 minutes that we're together. So,
good luck, yeah.
So, so how long have you been taking advantage of virtual onboarding, Darren?
We've been doing it for a number of years now. I won't say exclusively virtual onboarding. It has been a blended approach from a traditional onboarding experience. But from a business point of view, virtual onboarding has been a key element of our business in regarding the hiring of our talent and our talent acquisition teams, and bringing them into the right business functions and functional areas really as part of their onboarding journey. So we have always had an insight into using virtual onboarding, But given obviously, it's quite apparent in this day and age, in these current circumstances, that we have probably fast-tracked some of the initiatives for virtual onboarding a lot quicker, but we've been doing it for a number of years.
So what led you to go down that route?
A number of factors, really. You mentioned it earlier on a couple of slides about remote working. That's one of the key areas of our business. Agile working is quite a prominent figure for us in terms of the way that people work. Also, the fact of talent acquisition. We were finding ourselves maybe restricted to market areas for certain talents, for certain teams, and the fact that we could remotely allocate individuals to different teams, depending geographically where they were located. We're a global organization, so we found that we could actually recruit people outside of their geographical location and remote virtually onboard them through their teams. So it was a number of things, really. It was restricting to the type of talent we were able to attract. It was also the technology also became enabled. Our working principles were introduced. And all of those factors just created a bit of a perfect storm, really, for us to actually look at this. But it's also important to have the leaders and the leadership of a business to actually want to move into that space and not try to be too traditionalists. So it was about being a bit of an innovative thinking in regard to actually people sponsoring it and actually really giving it the real positive sponsorship to actually put it forward. And the results and the benefits that we found have been quite useful, really.
Okay, yeah. What would you say have been the main advantages, Darren?
Sorry, could you just repeat that again? Sorry, you spoke up a little bit there.
Apologies, did I drop slightly? Apologies. Yeah, I was just
okay?
asking what are those main advantages that you've seen?
Particularly attracting the talent from a wider scope. So as I said, you don't have to be geographically restricted to your region. As I said, we're a global business and we have teams that are located around Western Europe, North America, Asia, Pacific, etc. So you could find yourself having a really key individual that can join the team and be based in the UK, but they remote work joining a team that's based in, say, Geneva in Switzerland. So they can have their remote virtual onboarding by their team in Geneva, but they can be present in our UK office and vice versa. So it means we can attract a wider range of talent through remote working. It also means that if we've got in recruitment drives going on, we're not delayed for any reason. For example, the circumstance we find ourselves in now, if we're going through like quite a robust recruitment process for people, the time we've invested, we're not delaying start dates. And I saw you mention it on your slide earlier. The time you've invested in recruiting key candidates, you're not deferring start dates or you're putting potential talent at risk. You're also showing you've got an innovative company. Your organization's very agile, as I mentioned before. It also shows that you're willing to actually adapt your ways of working. And it's quite a creative approach that you can actually give reassurance to potential candidates that don't worry, your start date's still being adhered to. We've got the flexibility and the tools and the technology to be able to adapt our ways of working, which again helps attract a higher pedigree of individual and also retain that talent without losing potential candidates to other businesses who may be further ahead in the process of virtual onboarding.
Yeah, it's an interesting point you make, and I know people have talked about the impact it has on your own staff as well, in terms of they're seeing you still continuing to bring people in this current environment, to actively be hiring, bringing people in via virtual onboarding gives everybody confidence in where the business is going. But again, I think you're right, Darren, shows that creativity and agility that can set you apart. Yeah.
And also, just to add on to that, sorry, Ian, just to add on to that, also it creates a positive PR for us as a business for new candidates as well. So they're quite actively promoting on your behalf and sponsoring your business by saying, look, I've just joined this organization. It's a great experience, virtual onboarding. I had my start date that was adhered to. I kept everything. I met these individuals. So they're doing the PR and the promoting for your organization as well. So you get an additional byproduct of your virtual onboarding, particularly at these times anyway that we're finding.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you've got your employer value position, or your employer branding is such a hot area and topic, I think that's a great example of people spreading positive word and sending the right messages about your organization that, as you say, reflect far beyond just that process. That's great. So what advice would you give to hiring managers thinking about adopting it in their business?
I would ensure that you have aligned strategy on the tech that you're going to be using, making sure that you've got the technology to be able to support that. So whatever platforms you're looking to use for your virtual onboarding is consistent throughout your organization. Are you going to be providing the technology for your candidates as part of their virtual onboarding, or are you going to rely upon those candidates having their own technology, and then is that going to be able to be compatible with what you're using? So technology is important because it cannot go any further if the technology is not being used in the right manner. So make sure the technology platforms are all understood by the organization and the business. Try not to fall into the trap of lifting and shifting in a traditional face-to-face onboarding program. You need to maybe look at what actually would be used and the timelines and the scheduling you would use for a traditional onboarding experience. And does that actually necessarily fit into a virtual world? My experience is it doesn't always. So pick out the things that you need to maybe streamline. Think about the timelines that you would spend in regards to the onboarding experience. So just because you may spend a 5-day, 10-day, 15-day, whatever duration of time it may have been on a face-to-face onboarding experience, may not necessarily translate itself on virtual. So think about 60, 90, 120-minute maximum module sessions of actually engaging individuals. Think about the topics you're going to cover with them. Also, who's going to be actually facilitating the virtual onboarding? Do they need any training to upskill themselves on these platforms, on this technology? Comfortable with delivering virtual onboarding? So do they need to do some practice? So think about upskilling your staff who are going to be actually completing the onboarding. And also be mindful of still thinking about the fun engagement, the engagement activities, virtual coffee breaks. Think about who they're going to engage with on a remote basis, with which members of the team, and always check in. Make sure you don't allow someone to, just because it's virtual and it may be remote, you don't need to make them feel that it's isolated. So constantly make sure the engagement is there, and an experience that you would try to introduce on a base office environment is just as imperative as it would be on a virtual platform. So think about what you would use and what techniques, initiatives, and tactics you would put into place from a virtual point of view.
Okay, great. Thank you, Darren. Some interesting points there. I'm just going to have a look at some of the questions that we've had come in. So there's one here from Michael just asking about the sponsorship side of things. You were saying that the importance of having sponsorship at a leadership level, at a senior level. How did you go about achieving that? What advice would you give around that?
Sorry, repeat that again. Sorry.
Apologies. Just saying, we had a question around the sponsorship, leadership sponsorship that you were talking about, and the importance of that. And I was just interested what advice you'd give on how that was achieved.
It was a multitude of stakeholders. Talent acquisition it was one part of the talent acquisition, and the HR people and culture team. Presenting some statistics that you just mentioned there about onboarding, and how we can maybe look at different candidates in a different way of working. Also moving with the times. You mentioned about the different generations that are now coming through. There's a different expectation of what they expect from a workplace. So traditional features and benefits of USPs of what working place was offer, whether it's whatever benefits you may offer. Flexible working, we cannot underestimate what that actually offers for people, and remote working in particular, with commuting, maybe home life balance, work life balance expectations. So it sort of naturally grew in terms of, well, we're offering remote working opportunities, we're offering virtual working opportunities. Our onboarding is still stuck traditional ways. So it was a natural evolution. And also, as I said, the leadership team recognized when those statistics were put forward, the volume of candidates that we could get, the quality and caliber of candidates you could get by offering different remote working options as part of the virtual onboarding. I said anything needs to go through a bit of a trial process. Something needs to be proven. People want to see the actual fruits of everything that's being produced. So I won't say it was smooth straight away, but it took a bit of time to actually put it forward, and then you start seeing the actual opportunities that present itself. And then those individuals who were actually pioneers sponsoring it, they go to their peer groups, and all of a sudden that can then grow quite quickly. But it does take quite a lot of pushing and resilience to start it off and keep going until someone will potentially listen and even be the first person to put their hand up and say, we will do it. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Got another question here from Adam. So do you think that Brexit has or will add complexity or hurdles to your talent sourcing and virtual onboarding activities? So we're just looking at, for example, in the case of recruiting a UK-based resource into a Swiss-based team, which I think was an example you gave, Darren.
No, because we, without getting too technical with local contracts and things like that nature, you know, internally we have teams that we look at. So even though, you know, you might have a UK-based working contract, but you may dip into a team that's based remotely in another region. Brexit, like a lot of things, it seems to be gone very, very quiet. We're not quite sure what that impact will be from a working practices point of view. We're not quite sure how that will work in terms of contracts, etc. But at the moment, as a business, all of our setups are pretty fluid, and we've not seen anything that's come out so far that's going to cause us any issues with that. But as you said, you know, Brexit is, everyone, end of this year, there's meant to be some movement, but I think everyone's concentration levels are on something far greater at this moment in time.
Yeah, it's funny how it moves, isn't it? Okay, no, thank you. Thanks for that, Darren. So let's move on then, and we're now going to welcome Mariana, who's the head of talent acquisition from Factorial HR, who can provide us with some insights into how Factorial are helping organisations get the most out of virtual onboarding. I'm guessing we were talking briefly before, weren't we, Mariana? And I know already that the weather in Barcelona is a lot better than it is here in the UK.
It's a really nice day today here. Yes, it is. It's sunny, and we have the beach like 5, maybe 6 blocks from here. So it's really, really nice. But that's not what we're talking about, right? We're going to talk about virtual onboarding. I don't know if I can actually change the slides right now. Can I?
Yeah, you should be able to, Mariana. You should have control now.
Let me see. Nope.
Yeah, shall I move you to your spot over in a second? There you go. Yeah, bottom left. There you go.
Let me see. Yeah. Okay. Great. So hi everyone. My name is Mariana. I work at Factorial with the people team. I work as a talent acquisition. And speaking about virtual onboarding, well, I've done a lot lately. During the quarantine, we just closed a round of investors. So we have hired at least 40 people. So I did a lot of virtual onboardings. So basically what I want to share with you is my experience, what we do. We have changed the way we do it, you know, since the first onboarding to the last one, which was like a week ago. So basically, I would like to cover challenges that we must overcome when digitally onboarding employees and common mistakes. So it will be really easy and short, and I'll just give you my example. I'm not going to talk about what an onboarding is because you already know, but I'm just going to say that it's our first chance to create a great impression. That's all I want to say about onboarding. And now let's talk about a little bit about challenges and mistakes. So first of all, let me see, is it working? Yeah. Keep it simple. Well, for me, it's all about making new employees to feel welcome on the first day. I'm pretty sure you have a lot of information you want to give them, but my advice is keep it simple because they're nervous. For you, it's just another onboarding, but for them, it's the first day of a new job. So they probably are nervous. They have a lot of questions. So just give them the highlights, and then you can give them the employee handbook and a lot of different tools that I'm going to talk about today. And they'll have all the information, but the onboarding is going to be really easy, and it'll take, like for me, the onboarding itself, it takes about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, like the first day, and then we have different stages. I'll tell you about it. So setting a friendly digital environment. Okay, so everybody's working from home. So interruptions are okay. So the first thing I tell all the candidates or the new members is, if your dog is barking, it's okay. If the doorbell is ringing, it's okay. You know, just real life, you know. So what I like to do is I tell them what I would do if they were here with me at the office. Like, I'll invite you a cup of tea or a coffee. So if you want one, go grab one and come back with me. You know, I won't start until I feel they are completely, you know, ready to absorb all the new information. Also, well, about time, allocating time, right? For me, I take a lot of time when I do the onboardings. It depends if it's one person or more, but I usually have extra time just in case everybody is unique and they have specific questions. So just take your time, as many time as you need for the first day, you know, most important of all. And then also sharing your culture. Okay, for me, an onboarding should be an easy, really nice conversation with somebody who's really nervous. Most of the times they're really nervous. Well, at least in Factorial, we hire a lot of young people, so they're very nervous. So what I try to do is I give them a lot of examples. When I have to share, for example, my values, it won't be boring like, okay, these are our values, you know, like that. I'm gonna say, okay, sense of humor is one of our values, and I'll show you exactly how we work with this value. So for instance, we have this game called Watashi Nikite, which means ask me in Japanese, and we play this game on Slack every day. So I ask weird questions and they have to answer the question, or they can nominate somebody. For example, today I asked, okay, if you could date a celebrity, who would you date and what will you ask? So I give a lot of examples of how we live our values, our culture, and everything. Another thing, automation and digitizing documents. Well, my advice for everybody is use an HR software. For me, this is really, really easy because with Factorial, we have all in one. So we can do all the paperwork in like 5 to 10 minutes. And I also teach them about our platform and how to clock in and out, how to ask for vacation, how to find somebody in the company, how to launch a survey. I do take time for this because explaining Factorial, it's also actually explaining our product. So it is really important for us. But if you have an HR software, your life will be so much easier. And last one, socialization. I'll talk about this in the next slide because I'm going to tell you exactly what we do and how we do it, and you'll have a better example. So basically, our onboarding has 3 different stages: the pre-onboarding stage, the onboarding itself, and beyond the onboarding. So I'll tell you what we do on the first steps, like the first stage. So we send the employee, the new member, a welcome email which has a lot of different information. They can find a video from our CEO talking about the company and the history. And also they'll find a link to our helpful resources like, I don't know, like our blog, our webpage, videos, photos. It is very visual and it is very entertaining. And we also have a section with frequently asked questions. So once, like, for the first day with me, they already have a lot of information and we can talk about it. And it's not so boring because they already know about benefits, and I have sent them a welcome package, and pretty much they already know a lot. So we can go through different things and make it, you know, really, really easy. And then, let me see. Oh, and the last thing, yes, I train all the managers because we have 2 different onboardings. We have one with the people team and the other one with their team. So I tell the managers what we expect from them, and they have to give them information about, I don't know, like our OKRs, and they have to be extra friendly, you know, things like that. So I tell them what to expect, and also because we have an evaluation for each of these onboardings, so they have to be ready, and we really need good scores on those evaluations. So I train them a lot. Then on the first day, because they already have a lot of information, because I've sent in the welcome guide, I also give them the employee handbook, and they can find all the information about procedures, compensation, benefits, policies, culture, everything. So if they want to go deeper into any subject, they can do it with the employee handbook. And basically the first day, as I said, I introduce the platform, we do all the paperwork, and basically I tell them about how is like working with us and what they can expect and how to meet the team and things like that. And of course, I introduce them with the entire company. We do it with our buddy program, which is such a great program. If you don't have one in your company, you should. It's really, really easy. What we do is every time we have a new member, we assign 3 buddies to this person. So these buddies will call them or write them or just invite them to our after office activities and invite them for virtual coffees and things like that. And everybody loves this program. And they also tell them why they have chosen us, and they talk about different things. And now, for example, now that we're coming back to the office and we had all these buddies and all these new members, it is really nice when you see people at the office. It's like, oh, I know you, you are my buddy. Oh, well, we had a coffee together. Let's have lunch together. So if they're going to be working in the same office, it's really nice. And if it's not, they can have friends in different places in the world. It's really nice. The other day, one of the girls was telling me she's from Brazil, and her buddy was from Venezuela, I think, and because we come from 17 different nationalities in Factorial, and they were talking about soccer the entire time. So socialization, buddy program for me is the key. And also, okay, I'm gonna be really, really fast. I'm almost done. We have, as I said, 2 evaluations and a follow-up. 2 evaluations that we do. The first one is for our onboarding process and for the onboarding process with their team. And also we have a general knowledge evaluation that we do like after the first weeks, just to check if they remember what we have talked about and if they have any doubts. And I do a lot of follow-up, a lot. Like I write them, I call them, I ask them, okay, how is the first week going for you? The second, you know, like I try to talk with them a lot just to make sure they feel happy and they understood everything and they really want to stay here and stay for long. And some tips that I would like to share with all of you, and then I'm done. Okay, first of all, be a people person. Basically, enjoy interacting with others. If you work in an HR team or a people team, you should be a people person. If you're not, then maybe you can change to developers or product or something like that. But if you work in HR, you should be, you know, happy of interacting with others. Also, familiarizes the employee with your company. Just get them to know your company, and that's it. And encourage an open dialogue for welcoming in questions. Make them feel comfortable enough to ask anything. I won't finish until they tell me they feel ready, they're not nervous, and they can start with their teams. Display empathy. Well, of course, just be empathetic. I mean, you have to understand, it doesn't matter the age. I mean, a lot of people can feel nervous on the first day. So just be empathetic and extra friendly. And use the right technology, and also ensure they have all the things they need at home to start working. And please, like, my advice will be just have some fun, enjoy what you do, and try to make them feel happy of joining your team, right? So if you want to know more about how to optimize your digital onboarding process, we've got a lot of a number of resources in our blog to help you out. Or if you're needing more support, we also do offer onboarding and applicant tracking within our HR softwares. So for those who doesn't know us, Factorial.
Okay, thank you very much, Mariana.
You're welcome.
Actually, we've had one question actually from Joanna, was just asking if it would be possible to have more information on both the welcome guide and the welcome pack. So I don't know if that's something we could pick up afterwards, if that's possible.
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
Oh, did I break up, Mariana?
I'm sorry.
Apologies. Joanna was asking, would it be possible to have more information on both the welcome guide and the welcome pack?
Yeah, sure. Well, you can contact me, you can contact us, and we'll give you some ideas of how we do it. Our welcome guide, we did it because we thought, okay, what is it that we would like to share with everybody? So the first day we can have a conversation, and it is not like a workshop. So basically what we have is what I said. We have a video from our CEO. We have a link for our blog, helpful resources. We talk a little bit about benefits. It's like a small employee handbook, if you want to call it that way. So that's what we do. And the welcome package, well, it depends on each company, but we send different gifts, like a notebook, like, I don't know, different things like t-shirts or pencils, things like that. But every company has their own gifts. I don't know. That's that's up to you, Joanna, I think you said.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Joanna, thank you, Joanna. You're welcome.
Yeah, that sending of like a welcome pack that includes things like, you know, merchandise or promotion, whatever it might be, that kind of familiarizes people or brings them into the company, even though they're virtual, is something I know has been very effective. I know we've used that ourselves as an organization, and I know that's something that a lot of people feedback is a real positive way of kind of trying to bring people in, even to the
And you know
extent that
what?
people,
It's really nice when you send them the welcome package and you start the onboarding and they have your t-shirt and they already
yeah,
feel part of the organization. You feel so happy, you know. It's just, oh, you liked it, you're using it, you know. So we start like it's just a normal conversation.
yeah. And I've seen people use things like asking about you know, favorite snacks or favorite foods as part of that pre-onboarding, and then organizing maybe for a snack to be delivered, so I can't speak, on their first day, or organizing their lunch on that first day to
Exactly.
be, you know, deliveries.
That depends on your budget, but yes.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's some, yeah, I was going to say, it probably depends what they say their favorite food is. A question that's come in as well from somebody was just asking, is the length of digital onboarding longer than traditional in-office onboarding? So that might be one
Well,
to answer potentially.
it depends. As I said, every person is unique, and it depends if I'm doing an onboarding for a group of people or for just one people. But most of the times it takes longer at the office because we have the coffee, we walk around, we introduce everybody like face to face. So that takes a lot of time. But I'll say I think it's shorter when we do it digitally.
Would you agree with that, Darren? Looks like you would.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you find that you're cutting out some of the stuff that Mariana's mentioned there about some of the other, I won't say distractions, but you're getting involved in more coffee breaks, maybe more meet and greets that might take place on face-to-face. You're probably a little bit more stricter on the content that you want to cover on a virtual onboarding. So yeah, I'd agree that the timelines are reduced.
Okay. And just I think one final question from me, really, Mariana. I was when you were talking about the buddy program, and
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something that Darren uses or whatever, but I know with those kind of things, sometimes it's engaging the buddies, if that makes sense, to get actively involved in that. Have you got any advice around that? Because I know that can sometimes be the problem, is that actually does the person properly engage with it, and how do you select those people and make that work?
Well, I have to say that if you hire happy people, you'll have a lot of buddies at your company. I mean, no, seriously. I mean, when we decided to do it, we were like, okay, so who wants to be a buddy? And we thought maybe we'll have like, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 people. And we have like, I don't know, 50 people trying to become a buddy, you know? They just have to be friendly, and it's positive for everybody because the buddy will engage the new member, but at the same time, the new member will be more productive because he or she is happy. So everybody's happy, so everybody's more productive, and everybody becomes friends with everybody. So like, there's only like a positive side for me, you know?
Fair enough. Is that anything that you, Darren, do you use any kind of buddying system at the moment?
Yeah, each individual sort of functional area in the business will have, we call it like a mentoring program that the new starters will incur, and they'll have an allocated number of people depending on the technicalities of that role. But yeah, they'll have that. And just to follow on the back of what Mariana said then, enthusiastic people, if you hire the right caliber of individuals, you'll have a number of people, so you won't be struggling to find individuals to be a mentor or a buddy. You'll actually have the opposite challenge. You'll be trying to select out of a strong pool. So it's an encouraging thing, and people like to put themselves forward. They like that opportunity to have a little bit of side development a part of their role as well, and they like to see nurturing individuals and develop an individual that's brand new to the business. So that's always
Great, that's good to hear. I've got one other question that's come through. Matt, have we got time to fire that question?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, got a couple of minutes. So I think you started to answer this a bit, Mariana, but Inga's just asked, how did you adapt your onboarding to handle multiple new starts? Do you split people out based on role? So I guess together, or?
It depends on the amount of people, but I usually do it with only like 3, maybe to 4. Like that's the maximum amount of people in a group. And no, actually, I try to mix up the people so they can actually meet people from other, different teams. So if I have, let's say, I don't know, 3 developers in a week, I don't know. I remember a week where I was doing 7 onboardings. So it was people from the developers team and also payroll and marketing. So I try to mix up everybody so everybody can know everybody and they already have, a different connection in a different team.
Okay. Yeah, I think it might be one of the advantages of, for companies that perhaps aren't so global as well, that if we're virtually onboarding, actually it can encourage you to have 2 or 3 people from different offices on the same session, whereas probably if you were doing it physically, you wouldn't actually take that opportunity. So, there's food for thought in terms of how, benefits of virtual. We've got one last question. I'm going to fire it in really quickly, which was just someone just fired in just saying, how do you onboard the colleagues to the products of the company and internal communities, things like sports teams and clubs and so on? Any comments on those?
Well, how do we do it? We have a lot of activities, digital activities. We have virtual coffees and we're virtual championships. I don't know, like right now we're working with Unfoti, which is like a contest for like photo contest. And for the people that it depends, because you have like, if the people that you are going to do the onboarding is eventually coming to the office is one thing, but if they're going to stay in a different country or a different city forever, it's a different kind of strategy. So if they're coming, it's easy because right now we are coming to the office here in Barcelona, so it's really easy. We have a lot of activities and with all the safety, of course, that COVID demands, but we are doing a lot of different things. But if they're staying in a different country or a different city, we try to explain them that they can join like all the after activities of all the after office activities that we do, they can participate through Zoom, for example. And we try to have different games, like the ones that we can do, like virtual games, and the ones that we actually do at the office.
Fair enough. Anything to add on that one, Darren?
No, just knowing whereabouts the location of the onboard is going to be present. As Mariana said, are they going to be office based or are they going to remote work? If they're going to be office based and they're going to interact more, then you would explore and share some of the social committee activities that take place and who the main representatives are of those activities and who looks after those teams, so that you can point them in that direction and maybe set up appointments or share invites. But if people are remote in a different location, then you might have to sort of explain that they're available, but there may be some on virtual activities that they may want to participate in, or even reach out to individuals. It's a good way of networking with people within the business if they are remote working, so that they still feel part of the organisation and part of the social activities.
Okay, great. Thank you, Darren. Well, I'm gonna wrap things up there because of time. There's been a lot of thank yous coming through on the chat and so on. So thank you as well, Darren and Mariana. I think I can tell from the audience have enjoyed what you've had to say. So thank you everyone for joining us today. We will answer any further questions that appear over email, and hope you have a good rest of the day. A few people have asked about the slides and so on. I know that we've certainly recorded this, so I believe Matt will be circulating a recording. I'm sure we can talk about this afterwards, but I'm sure we can probably include the slides in those if needed. Would you be happy with that, Mariana?
Yeah, sure. And if anybody wants to contact me, feel free to do it. Yes, of course, contact us through Factorial and I'll be happy to help.
No problem. Well, we'll make sure that we get all of that sent out to you. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Have a great rest of the day, and we hope to see you all again soon.